Legends, and welcome back to the Great Western
Yeah.
Hotel podcast, brought to you by the team at Crowdcast. And as always, I'm Adam Simon, and today we're gearing up for one of the biggest live music events the Western has ever seen. We're talking about Triple M Rocks the Western, happening Saturday, 21st of February, 2026. And guys, it's a stacked lineup of Australian music royalty. We're talking about Clapton, or Richard Clapton, Ross Wilson and the Peaceniks. They're a fantastic band still. My Sex, Wendy Matthews, Shantuzi, Swanee, and of course the Rads, or better known to everyone as the Radiators. So, joining me today is the band's long-time driving force, Martin Cilia. Martin, welcome to the podcast. How you going?
Good, Adam. Good to be here.
It's good. Sorry, mate, we had a bit of a technical gaffe there, but we've, in true rock and roll style, we've covered up and kicked on.
Yes. Good.
When you play places like these iconic venues, we were talking just before we started recording about, I see the General Burke in Parramatta and other venues which are, I suppose no longer there. And we see things like there's a great guy who posts on Facebook, old gig guides, from the old Pink Guide in the Herald and things like that. And where gigs were on a Monday night and a Tuesday night, a Thursday night. But then you play venues like, say, the Great Western, and you've got that legacy of the band still going in a whole new generation. How does it feel when you're on stage?
These days, it's good. We often look at the audience. We see the original fans. We sometimes see their kids and their grandkids. We get like 3 generations of people turning up at Rad's gigs, which is really encouraging. It's really good to see. People, rock and roll is still alive and well.
But where do you think that generational comes from? Is it because of families and groups just pass it down to it? Like the kid listens to his dad's records. I did that. My uncle was kind enough to give me his record collection the night before my HSC. So thanks, Tony. But didn't do anything but listen to records that night. But do you think it's because that, or is it because streaming has now made the world so accessible to? Yes, it has its devil side, but is the music more accessible? What do you think is the one thing that keeps it going that generational?
I think it's old school, word of mouth. They hand it down, their friends' parents. They hear the music played by their parents or their grandparents, or whoever it may be. And it's just they've taken a liking to it, and these young kids come along, they know all the words to the songs, which is, I find that really interesting. That means they really have gone into the back catalogue in detail. It's really encouraging to see, and it's I guess everyone's got their own music styles that they like, but the Rads seem to have the same fans as back in the early days, just now with the rest of the family coming along.
Was there back in the early days you just referred to, was there a certain town or city or part of Australia that you knew it was a great night all the time? The Rads had a really strong fan base in it? Was it all across?
Anywhere between Sydney and Cairns, I would think. That sort of area.
I mean, because we've got tracks like, Give Me Head and Coming Home. I mean, so many of these tracks are etched into Australian music history. You've been hearing the crowds belt these back to you for so long. Does that still give you that buzz and that electricity?
It's really good. Yeah, it's really good when they participate, and they it's encouraging. It gives the whole thing a worth. It gives what you do a worth. And we've been very fortunate enough to still have people coming in along. As our manager says, the Rads fans are rusted on.
Yeah.
And it's like that very much. They're very loyal, and the band is always trying to do its best. We'll try and give our best performance possible, and it shows across the audience, across the band. It's just such a good thing to be doing.
I saw an interview with Paul Stanley just before Kiss retired. He was saying like the Kiss fans have almost formed a family, like a family reunion where they don't see each other any time but at a Kiss gig. Have you got those fans you feel that they've followed you in the band for so long?
Definitely. Well, we're doing a show later today, and I'm sure we'll be seeing some of those at the show today. So it's definitely a loyal crowd, and with new people coming along to join in.
We've got this gig coming up. We're talking about this legacy and so on. I mean, gig coming up, the Great West and Triple M Rocks the West. I mean, as we just said, some of the names, Ross Wilson, My Sex, Shantuzis. I love the and I heard the Shantuzis were playing yesterday. It's like, I love them. Fantastic band. Wendy Matthews. What's the backstage feeling like when you guys all get together?
Oh, it's like a catch-up, like a social catch-up. We also know each other from being on the road for a long time, and you just have a catch-up with people, find out what's going on, who's doing what, who's missed their plane, whose baggage has got lost, all sorts of things.
I saw an artist did probably 18 months ago, and I was like, "How's your band going?" "Oh, they all passed away in COVID." It's like, oh goodness, we're all getting a bit older. But the thing is
Well,
that
that's no
that
good.
intensity. I mean, Rads have always had a high intensity in their performance, and I was saying like I've seen you guys in car parks, in stadiums, I've seen you in iconic venues. What's the secret to maintaining that intensity in live performance? Because I see so many bands they ebb and flow, but you guys have been able to hold it so high. What's the secret?
It's just the attitude. People are great guys. So the guys in the band are great guys. Everyone gets on really well. We just want to do our best every gig. And so you just give it all you've got every time. There's no excuses. You're doing it for the fans. Without the fans coming along, there would be no gig. So
Yeah.
we just do our best every time, no matter what. It can be raining or power can go down, whatever. We just still give it our best.
And do you get to coming back to this, the multi-artist gig, do you guys have a chance when you're playing these multi-artist gigs or festivals and so on? Do you get to have a bit of time off and go and see some artists that you like or some artists that you might not have seen before as well in these opportunities?
Occasionally, we'll see some of the bands. We generally get there a little bit earlier for these festivals so we can check out what's going on before us. And we also look at what's after. But yeah, we'll do that, especially younger bands. We'd like to be interested in what the younger bands are doing coming through.
Is there any younger bands that you've seen, or do you take guys on the road, younger bands, and sort of give them that mentorship? And you think, oh, we need to help these
Well,
guys because there's so much, especially music, Australian
there's a
music's always
band
been about
that's
that
with us.
camaraderie.
Well, yeah, we can give them the option. There's a band that called Neko. They play
Okay, yep.
supports to us often, and they're really good. They're one of the good younger bands. We've probably known them for a few years now, and they're always good, give it their best, and they've got something. They're committed and they do their work, and so bands like that. The world needs more bands like that.
Is it bands like that and the Rads, which you say, like, because I've seen Neko a few times, and they do have that sort of throwback to the 70s, almost like a Zeppelin-esque as well, where they make it a bit of theatre, they put on a suit while they're playing, or they're quite, as opposed to just turning up in their high-vis shirt that they wore during the day.
Yeah.
Is it that presentation that you look for that you guys used to have as well, and that this band can make it because they understand there's a stage and there's an audience and you're there to entertain as well?
Well, they put the effort in, and their music's developed. They're starting to get their own style now. Last time I heard them, I'll be hearing them in another week or two when they play before. We'll make sure we get there in time to hear them. And yeah, you've got to be professional and don't take things for granted. It's as I say, it's a music business. It's not playing in someone's backyard barbecue for a few mates. It's a profession, and you got to treat it professionally.
I love that you said that because I talk to a lot of people, people I work with, and say, it's show business or music business, it's not music friends.
That's right.
What is a lesson you can share with people listening today and watching today that you've learned about the music business?
And music, well, there's so many sides to it. Just watch your back all the time. Make sure you work with people that you like and you can trust. And if you've got any questions to ask them. If you're not sure about some of the business arrangements or whatever it might be, just ask, and you'll find out. And if you don't agree with them, don't participate.
But how does that make, because you're saying don't agree and not participate, a young artist especially faces that challenge now where they have like the streaming components where you have to be on Spotify.
Yes.
In principle, us as music fans and musicians, we don't often agree with the small payments or how the accessibility of it. How does a young artist learn to, I suppose, identify which things, yes, I don't agree with it, but I have to go with that against my principles? Because I imagine it can be quite conflicting.
Well, when I started out playing, there was no Spotify. You couldn't get your music out unless you had a record deal with one of the bigger companies generally. And so it's a great opportunity. I mean, if I was younger now, like I say, a teenager, I'd be putting my music all over Spotify and all over those things because it's an easy to access a wider audience through that. It just depends how you go about marketing it.
Mm.
But back in the old, there was none of that. You had those opportunities weren't there. So what you gain on one end and lose on the other end, you kind of balances out.
You see there are correlations between, say, when you used to work with record labels to now that, yes, you have to work with different streams and digital platforms as well as radio as well. Are there correlations that are still there into how the business side of things needs to flow and to continue to grow and expand to when you guys were first in the scene?
I think it's just changed in, uh, well, it's hard to pin down. It's changed in the fact that you can see where your money's coming from or where it's going these days more than you could back in the old record company days, because you didn't really know how many records were sold. You didn't really know what the income was. You really didn't know a lot of that stuff. Well, these days you can get figures and all that. So
Mm,
that's a bonus there. So it's not all bad. Um, thing is, the other thing that's come up, well, especially since COVID, touring is now very expensive.
mm.
So to put on a show like Rockhampton, the one we're doing up there would cost quite a bit of money compared. It could cost a lot more than it would have done 10 years ago. So touring expenses are up. So that's another issue that's against uh, touring musicians. It's a
Also,
big
we have the
obstacle.
the threat. When you do get to the venues and so on, some of the places they've got poker machines or the tab or
Yeah.
a DJ. I saw recently there was a pub which we love, and it was taken over by new management. They said, "Oh, we're big supporters of live music. We're going to have DJs Friday, Saturday night." And it's like, no, that's not live music. That's the challenge there. But we talk about venues. You guys have played so many venues. Is there one particular venue or one particular night which is just you guys always talk about, or it just stands out in your memoir?
Not particularly. I tend to remember the one gig that wasn't so good, or someone fell over, or something like that.
Right.
The good ones, there was just so many of them. You don't really talk about that too much. It's normally the ones where there was, oh, you broke 5 strings that night on your guitar or something, where something went wrong. That's the ones you remember.
I remember seeing like back in the day, like Parramatta Jail used to have gigs with like Chisel and the Oils and so on. Did you ever play somewhere really unique or out of your normal
Yeah, well,
capacity?
Rad's played there and did some of the other things, but yeah, probably some of the other bigger tours are quite memorable, like the Countdown tour or one of those sort of things. But yeah, generally every Rad's gig is an event, so everyone counts, and it's just been so many, it's hard to remember. But there's luckily there's not been too many bad ones.
I think honestly, the longevity is that you guys are still recording. You're still touring, you're still putting out dance floors, and that the brand you see it on your shirt there, "Give me Rads." It's still very relevant. It's still very strong, and I think that's what a lot of bands, both here and internationally, don't understand. I think they don't understand that you have to playing 2 gigs a year doesn't cut it. You have to be out there because you've got a fan base. So
Yeah, well, there's always someone else out there will take fans off you. And we tour as much as we can these days, and it's good. It works out good,
yeah,
Yeah, and luckily people still come and see the band.
I'm going to ask you. Gimme Head has such an association with the band, and you've got that's a fantastic play on words there. Gimme Rads, and it's a fantastic idea there. But I remember it's a song you almost have to play. Did you guys ever get to a point where you're like, "Oh, we're sick of playing that. We don't want to play it," or
Well, you just do it, but it's not the big part of the set that everyone thinks it is. We play it. It's not a particularly long song. We play it maybe about three-quarters of the way through the set. We put it in there, we play it, and then we move on to the next song, whatever that may be. But yeah, people love it, and there's Coming Home is probably the big one,
mm.
um, which we do towards the end. But it's yeah, Give Me a Head is one of those songs that never had any radio play for obvious reasons, but everyone knows it.
As soon as you get no radio play, it just build up its legacy. Like, and I've seen a few songs like do that of various bands and so on. But
Mm.
I want to sort of flip the script here too. I always talk about we get a lot of artists here and so on, a lot of interviews we do where family meant a lot to them growing up. And I want to talk about your musical influences personally. Did you grow up in a household full of music? Were your parents or any relatives or siblings musically based?
Yeah, well, my father used to play. He was a TV radio technician back in the day, trained in the late 50s. He used to have a tape recorder when we were young, which was unusual, like a reel-to-reel tape recorder. And he used to record songs off the test pattern or off, on the old TV stations, or off, you had these tapes he'd bring home from work, and it had like Cliff Richard and the Shadows, and then it would have like Beatles, and then it would have the bands like the Kinks and whatever came along after that. And so I heard a lot of that stuff when I was young, mainly the English stuff.
Did that influence you to, I know Springsteen tells the story of, he saw Elvis and then he went next day to the hardware store and bought a guitar. Were the bands that you were listening to growing up influence your own thought process to take up music?
Yeah, Hank Marvin, guitar player from the Shadows. Um,
Yeah.
I
He
just
lives in
once I
Perth from memory.
discovered his sound, and he does live in Perth, um, and he's very happy there too. He loves it. Yeah, so he was a big influence. I heard his sound, and this is early days, early 70s, and I just thought, wow, what a great sounding instrument. I want to do that.
What was your first guitar?
First guitar was a Tiesco, um, Japanese Tiesco 2 pickup red guitar that my dad got for me when I was about 12, maybe 13, and he swapped a radio for it. Someone wanted
Okay.
a guitar, wanted a radio, and he had a radio, and he swapped the radio for the guitar. That's how I got my first electric guitar. Anyway,
How long did you hold on to that for?
still got it.
Still got it.
It's
That's the answer I was hoping for.
it's
So,
I've still got it. It's
so
actually at my mother lives in Perth, and it's actually at her house still.
okay, fantastic,
It's
fantastic.
still there.
When
Yeah,
we do get a rock and roll, when we get a physical rock and roll Hall of Fame in Australia, that's got to be one of the additions to the Rads display for sure. So, and I do have a few
yeah.
tech heads that listen to the show and watch the show. So, what are you playing now? What's your setup now?
Okay, I used two Box AC30 amps that were made in the early 1960s, and for guitar, I've got a Martin Cilia custom model, which is done by an English luthier guitar builder called Alan Entwistle. And he approached me a number of years ago. She said, "I like your playing. I want to make you a guitar." So we went from there, and then he did a run of I can't remember, maybe 50, 60 or something of them, and production run, and that's what I play. I
Yeah.
play those since COVID for sure. I've been playing that model guitar. I've got 2 or 3 out on the road with me. Yeah.
To hear Martin and the team play the amazing music and this kit and this setup and so on, well, you've got to get yourself along to the Great Western Hotel for Triple M Rocks the Western. It's out February 21st. Thanks so much for the time, but I'm going to ask you one last question. I've done hundreds of podcasts. I always ask the same last question.
Yes.
Time to go on stage. You're walking up on stage, you plug in, you set up, you're ready to go. At that very moment where you walk out on stage, what's it feel like? Where's Martin? Who's Martin become in that space?
Well, you see, you turn into you focus on what you're about to do. So I don't think about anything else. You think, well, okay, we have a road crew, so you hope for that all your gear's working. You hope that it's all going to be as it should be. And then when you start playing, because the crew often do our sound checks for us, we haven't seen the room before. We haven't seen the stage before we walk on. So you acclimatise. So you look at the stage, acclimatise, and when you start playing, you go, yeah, that sounds about right. Well, something sounds wrong. And so that's what you hope for. You're trying to debug in the first 30 seconds. But
What about,
walking on
so
stage, you're thinking about what your intent is and what you're focused on.
how long does it take you to get from here to that place? Is it the same song every night for you that you know you're in the pocket, you're in that high space and you're flying, or is it different times based off the stage, the venue, the audience?
Well, it's all different, but every person in the band's different too. Every person in the band has a different way of approaching the stage. So I know one of the guys who gets like before every gig is like gets so quiet and nervous, and another guy's just like hyper, and it's and I'm sort of in between, just sort of. But it's a good balance of people. We all cover all different areas, all that, but yeah, it's you just you want to do your best that you can, so you hope that the scenario is there for the band to be the best it can.
Well, we're going to do the best we can to get as many punters as we can to the Great Western Hotel. Ever played a venue with its own little rodeo arena before? It's got the hotel has its own little rodeo ring. You ever played gigs
Oh,
like
we've done
that?
all sorts, but yeah, we've done rodeo arenas. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's interesting. It's got the big train that drives past every few hours as well. You're down the main street there.
yeah, it's a fascinating place, and we're going to get to share the Rads. We're going to get to share My Sex, Richard Clapton, Ross Wilson and the Peaceniks, Wendy Matthews, Shantuzi, Swanee, you name it. We're all going to be there. Martin's going to be there with the Radiators. We can't wait to see him tear it up one more time at the Great Western Hotel. Saturday, 21st of February. Tickets now on sale. One massive stage, a powerhouse lineup, and a night of classic Australian music you're never going to forget. And again, as we said before, if you've got kids, take your teenagers, take your grandkids, whoever. Grab your tickets, rally your mates, and we'll see you all at the Western. Martin, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. We can't wait to see you at the hotel next weekend. As always, I'm Adam Simon from Crowdcast. Thanks for listening and watching the Great Western Hotel podcast, and we'll see you at Triple M Rocks the Western on Saturday, 21st of February.
Thanks, Adam. See you there.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So what we just do now is we just click on the magic stop button.